So, my husband likes to invite his friends, note, his friends. I am not close with them for barbecue parties. He prides himself on his BBQ skills. The thing is, I always end up doing everything. He buys and preps the meat and then grills and serves it and collects praise for his BBQ skills. I have to buy drinks, get out enough dishes, clean up the patio and deck, non-native speaker, I don't know which one to use. I prepare the sides and veggies, I refill the drinks and take away dishes, we don't use paper plates or plastic cups since I find it wasteful, so as to keep the main table tidy. It's just non-stop work for me. He just told me last week that he invited his friends for Saturday, so yesterday. Just announced it, didn't ask me. I said well okay, do I know anyone? Nope, those are his workmates and they won't be bringing their spouses. My husband called it a guys' night. I said okay then, guys' night, well enjoy yourselves, I will be in my craft room working on some of my projects and drinking wine. He said he will handle it. Spoiler alert, he did not handle it. He got the meat alright, but just ignored any other preparation, and I was just so sick and tired of being taken for granted, he never asks me for help, I just do stuff, so I didn't do anything. The patio was a mess, the upholstery of the garden furniture was all messy from our dogs, the table wasn't wiped down, there was stuff lying all around. His friends arrived, I welcomed them, and then excused myself to my crafts room, put some music on and worked. Cue the messages. He started asking for stuff, like where are the plates, we only keep a small set in the kitchen, the rest is in the basement, where are the cups, why isn't the beer chilled, where is the non-alcoholic beer, did I not buy it? Where are the sides? I just replied that he said he would handle it all himself. I checked on the guys a few hours later, and it was a disaster. Table all cluttered, they ordered some takeout as sides, there weren't enough dishes and silverware, someone had to go drive for drinks. On Sunday, today, he was all grumpy and actually told me that he is disappointed that I didn't pull my weight and that I made our family look sloppy and bad. I told him that I am not his little housewife and that he is a big guy and if he embarrassed himself in front of his workmates, that's all on him. And that I'm glad that he can see at least a tiny bit of work that I do around the house. He got upset and went for a run to let off some steam. Oh, and the patio is full of dishes, he didn't even clean the grill. I'm not touching anything. Everyone's the idiot here. I feel crazy reading the replies. It sounds like you just do everything without being asked, but you've built up resentment towards it. You need to talk to your husband about it instead of just purely ignoring the situation because you wanted to prove your point. You knew it was going to be a crap show, just sit him down and say hey husband, I don't want to do all this crap for you, you need to do it yourself. If he has a problem or just expects you to do it anyway, then there are things to reconsider. As of right now, you sound as petty as he is. Everyone's the idiot here, did you ever call me and rationally explain what it's like for you when you have guests over and why it makes you unhappy? Seems like you kept it all inside and then deliberately set him up to have a crappy night out of the blue or something. Why would you refuse to share information like where the plates are located? You should or could have told him that you feel neglected and told him all the things you do that he doesn't appreciate or realize and told him he was on his own. But there's no reason to hide information unless you are being a jerk and wanted him to fail. Not the idiot. Sounds like he's been taking you for granted for a while. Once he's cooled off I would personally have a calm sit-down discussion about why this happened. He dropped this on you and expected you to do stuff without him asking. He doesn't notice or appreciate what you do. If he wants a BBQ to be a team event he needs to ask not tell and pull his own weight on the supporting elements etc, and hopefully this will go some way towards changing things. I am a mom of an only child, Jake, who just turned 9 back in August. Jake is obsessed with anything to do with building and wants to be an architect when he's older. I fully support this dream and have spent a crap ton of money buying the graph paper, the table, rulers, and the biggest expense, Legos. He likes to spend his time drawing out his plans for his Lego builds before he moves over to the blocks to actually build things, and I think he's fantastic at it. For his birthday, I cleared out our spare room and hubby and I set it up as Jake's office complete with a huge Lego table. This room is my son's pride and joy and he spends a lot of time in there. Anytime any kids come over, they have to have his permission to go in and we enforce it. Here's where the problem starts. My sister-in-law recently left her husband and her 3 kids came to stay with us. This would be fine if she hadn't started throwing a fit about Jake's office. She wants more room in our house, even though they have the entire finished basement that has a family room that they are using as a bedroom. She wants us to clear out Jake's office so she can have space away from her kids. When we told her no, she got angry. She then started demanding we let her kids play in there because Legos are toys and Jake needs to share. I told her she was out of her damned mind because Jake said he didn't want his cousins in there, that he's working on a huge project, he has been building a city. Sister-in-law went crazy and ended up destroying all the work Jake put into his build. Now there's no excuse. I was beyond angry and went downstairs, grabbed her stuff, threw it into bags and threw it all out of my house, and told her to leave. Our family and my husband think I was a major idiot for what I did, and now I'm starting to question if I was. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, it's not about the Legos, it's about her trying to call the shots and assert her dominance in your house, and when you didn't cave she freaking damaged your child's possessions. She can get the hell out and stay out. Any relatives that have a problem with it can take her in. Your husband probably just thinks you were too extreme because he's brainwashed into thinking you have to put up with crap behavior from family. Sadly, most people would let family do things they would never let a stranger get away with. Not the idiot. You did a favor letting her in, beggars can't be choosers. She made herself a nuisance and wouldn't follow a very basic rule. She did this to herself. As the saying goes, play stupid games win stupid prizes. Good luck helping Jake rebuild. You're a good mom for defending your son. Your husband should see you as an example and do the same. He may even need to cool off elsewhere if he thinks his sister had any right to destroy his son's property and to try and steal his birthday present. Not the idiot. There were 2 things that were gonna happen. 1. Your kid remembers this as the day your sister-in-law destroyed his dream room and you let her take the room from him and use it for her own enjoyment. 2. Your kid remembers this as the day your sister-in-law destroyed his dream room and you erupted in glorious rage, literally packing her bags for her and kick her out to protect her kid property and by extension the basic respect for his things and spaces. I, 16, was chosen by my school principal to tour a new girl named Fatima, 16, around the school and hang out with her for the day. I had a majority of my classes with her, so the school principal decided I could help her out a bit. While we were walking to the cafeteria, she asked me a few things about myself, like my birthday, religion, favorite movies and shows, etc. I told her that I was Jewish and that piqued her interest in me, since she was a Muslim. She started asking me a bunch of questions like, wait, doesn't that mean a farmer would love you since you can't steal his pigs? Just like me. Or why wouldn't my parents let me get a Star of David tattoo on my forehead? I got annoyed with her asking so many questions about my religion, so I tried to change the subject. I asked her about more general topics like siblings and the school she came from. So instead, she starts saying, so you're Jewish. Don't you speak up about what Israel does to Palestine on social media? It's best to use your voice. Now, I get this question about Israel a lot from people online and strangers in real life when they learn I'm Jewish, so it gets annoying fast. I tell her that I was born in New York and had nothing to do with the country of Israel at all. Instead of just dropping the subject entirely, she harasses me even more about it, saying that it was my duty as a Jew to stop the oppression done by other Jews. At this point I am annoyed and tell her to drop the subject entirely, or I would stop talking to her. Fatima continued to talk about Israel until I left the lunchroom to go to the bathroom. My friend sided with me after they heard the story, but the principal said that I shouldn't have walked out on someone who was curious and didn't mean harm. Am I the idiot for walking out on the girl I was supposed to be touring? Not the idiot. You clearly did not want to talk about it. She kept going. And who can't figure out why they can't get a Star of David on their forehead? She didn't realize that's inappropriate. And seriously. Not every single Jew is involved with Israel, especially at your age. And to say you have a duty to stop other Jews' oppression. From one Jew to another, no you don't. There are far better ways to ask questions if you're curious about a religion without being inappropriate and acting like every single member of that religion has to fix the problems. You're not the idiot. Your principal is an idiot, huge idiot. When you reported that you were the target of persistent religious harassment, the head administrator at your school told you should swallow it up and keep quiet instead of removing yourself from the situation. That is wrong on every level. You handled the situation maturely and appropriately. Talk to your parents about meeting with the principal. Maybe he or she is teachable. If not, consider escalating to the school superintendent or board. Mild, everyone's the idiot here because I think that the girl was absolutely an idiot by not respecting you and wanting to continue talking about your religion instead of just taking the tour around the school. But you should have dropped her off with the principal or other admin person instead of leaving her. You got in trouble with the principal for leaving her, regardless of what she said to you, possibly because the principal didn't think the girl was being offensive. She was very offensive. I, 25, currently live alone and work as a mechanic. Both my parents are deceased. I have an older brother who took me in after my parents' house was taken, and it was absolutely difficult phase. I was working at an auto shop and was demanded to pay for food and household stuff for my brother and his wife so I could continue to live with them. I couldn't save enough money to move out, and it got worse. My life turned upside down when I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at the local community hospital. At first, several doctors could not identify the type of cancer I had. Unsure of what to do, I was referred to a specialist, which required me to pay X amount of money. I stopped working because I was too weak. My brother's wife completely ignored what I was going through and started complaining about me being at their house and not helping. She kept trying to turn my brother against me, and he ended up getting into a huge argument with me while I was undergoing chemotherapy for the second month, and I was kicked out by my brother, who claimed my condition was my own problem and he had no obligation to take care of an adult. Just his kids. I was a complete mess. A friend of mine took me in. He was confused by my brother's actions and lack of empathy. He had to be treating me like this in my darkest days. Relatives weren't present as much as I hoped for them to be. It was an incredibly difficult phase for me. I was mad and frustrated. This affected my treatment, and my brother only showed up once at the hospital, but gave me nothing. It's been over 2 years now. My fiancée lives in another town, currently taking her end of semester exams. We're getting married on Jan. A relative of mine gave the news to my brother. Clearly he has been asking about me for a while. And he wanted to come to me several times, but I refused to let him. He knew about the wedding and said he and his wife wanted to come. Said he was hurt other people were invited, but he wasn't. Pretended that I was being hustled towards him for no reason, and said his wife is the one encouraging him to call me and visit right now. Funny, she did the opposite while I was struggling. I refused to give him an invitation or even have a talk with him because of much heartache that has been caused already. But I was getting criticism for my stance and was told to forgive and forget. I guess my brother didn't know how serious my condition was, as we had this argument while I was beginning my treatment. He actually thought it was okay and that I could handle myself as an adult. He had his own issues and didn't care enough to fix things between us. Instead, thought his wife was right about me. Forgive and forget are the words that people who have never been in that situation throw around because they simply can't comprehend the gravity of what happened. If him and the wife wasn't taking money from you, you would have been able to save up and get yourself a place of your own. But no, they swallowed you dry, then literally left you to die. No, they don't get to act like the victim here. And to be honest, I would tell the whole story to the relatives. If they still can't understand where you're coming from and continue to give you crap about it, I'd go as far as uninviting them too. Not the idiot. I could maybe understand them asking you to leave if the issue had been they no longer had the financial means to support you in their house during that time, but what you describe isn't that. It sounds more like they just didn't care and didn't want to be bothered. That's not family. Your brother was half right, that he wasn't obligated to support you, but as a brother, one would hope he just cared enough to do it. That he didn't must have hurt very deeply, and I'm sorry about that. Not the idiot. I am so sorry for the cancer and hope you have a full and complete recovery. As for your brother and sis-in-law, they made you homeless when you were fighting for your life. If you want to give him a chance to apologize, that is up to you. He is your only family left. But it only appears that he wants contact because of the wedding, maybe to show off to everyone that you have the appearance of a good relationship. You are completely guilt-free to go no contact for the rest of your life based on his actions. My husband and I are parents to 3 kids, 2 living. Our oldest son, Josh, was killed in a boating accident when he was 6. My surviving son, Luke, was 4. A few years later, we had a daughter, Ava. Luke is now 12, and Ava is 4. Before quarantine, I would bring Ava to mommy and me type classes, and she also did a gymnastics class, and we just started karate. While hanging out, it is normal to chit-chat with the other parents. Because my boys were closer in age, everyone at Luke's activities knew about Josh, and it was never talked about. With Ava, the normal parent chit-chat sometimes leads to people asking if Ava is our only. Sometimes I say I have 2 and other times I say I have 3. It really depends on the situation. Back in January, Ava had a playmate with a friend from our library group. I went over her house, and I called my husband to remind him to pick Luke up from a friend's house by noon. The other mom asked how old Luke was, and when I told her that he was 12, she commented on the age difference. Then she asked if Luke had a hard time adjusting from being an only to having a younger sibling. I thought about bringing up Josh, but I didn't want to make things awkward, so I just said that wasn't an issue for us. Luke wanted a younger sibling and loves having Ava around. A few weeks later, she came over to our house. We have pictures of Josh on the wall. Nothing crazy but family and school pictures. She saw one picture and asked who that was. I said that it was my oldest son. She said she thought I only had Luke and Ava, and I told her that Josh passed away and is hard for me to talk about still. She was understanding and supportive, but my husband overheard, and after she left he accused me of trying to wipe away all memories of Josh. I told him I wasn't trying to do that, but in the past, when I have casually brought up Josh's death, it always makes the other person uncomfortable. I never said that Luke was an only child before Ava. I said that Luke didn't have any jealousy surrounding Ava's birth and was happy to have a little sibling. That was true. My husband said a lie by omission is still a lie and was very upset with me for trying to pretend that Josh never existed. That is not what I am trying to do. We got into a big argument over it, and he ended up venting to his parents, who still think I am the idiot over this. Did I handle the situation poorly? Not the idiot. Explaining what happened to Josh time and again to new people, anytime the conversation turns to family and the what grades are your kids in? Wait, I thought you said you had 3 kids. Would be akin to pulling the scab off every time and wounding yourself. Your husband should be understanding to how constantly mentioning and talking about a deceased child isn't good for your mental health. You're not forgetting you have a child who passed away, you're protecting yourself by not always bringing it up. Although this is in no way the same, I sometimes omit my sister, who passed 20 years ago, when someone asks how many siblings I have. Other times I leave her in. It kind of depends on the person. No idiots here, this seems above the scope of the sub, though. It sounds like your husband and you are coping with the grief differently, and that's okay. If it continues to cause issues, I suggest marriage counseling to help you and your husband process this together. No idiots here. I'm so sorry for your loss. My wife lost a sibling, and I've seen how my in-laws struggle with the same kind of thing you're talking about. I understand both you and your husband. I think you could do a better job of explaining your feelings to your husband, that it still hurts so much to talk about Josh with strangers or acquaintances. Talk about your feelings, not about how it affects other people's feelings. Your husband also of course needs to be accepting of how you cope.